this is a very special thing for you.
Many horror stories out there too of people like losing their ring, and her ring flew off into the ocean and it was just gone. This is The Guide Gals, a modern wedding-focused podcast by the experts at Here Comes the Guide. I'm Chelsea, a designer and inspired creative who's probably racked up over 3,000 hours on Pinterest, and the friend who's going to shoot it to you straight.
And I'm Caroline, the social media manager who's obsessed with dogs as ring bearers and will inevitably cry over your wedding video. We've seen it from all sides. We've been brides, planners, bridesmaids, and have worked with standout brands throughout the industry.
Think of us as an extension of your wedding party and hang out with us as we share the ins, outs, ups, and downs of the road to I Do.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the podcast. We're so excited to have you with us today. We're going to chat about something that I think is super fun, the beginning of the wedding planning process, aka engagement. So this is such an exciting time for your relationship. Getting engaged is a fun and beautiful time, but it also brings up a lot of questions about the wedding planning process.
Yeah, so you could start to feel a little overwhelmed with this. So yes, getting engaged is super exciting, but we talk all about wedding planning, and by now you probably know that wedding planning, like, there's just a lot to it. So if you're overwhelmed, if you're confused about what to do next, a lot of times this has never happened before. So what are you supposed to do when you get engaged? So in this episode, we're going to break down what you and your partner should do to set yourselves up, for planning a wedding.
Yeah, absolutely. And at the end of the day, this should be a fun thing for you. Fun, exciting time. So we're excited to talk about all the ins and outs of that. But before we get into our episode, dying to know, Chelsea, what are we drinking today?
I'm drinking the exact same thing that I drink every single episode. I always think I'm going to switch it up. I'm going to make something from home, and then I never do. So if you have watched our previous episodes, she's here again. It's just the vanilla sweet cream cold brew from Starbucks. On the days that we do this, we typically film in the morning. So it's like my special treat on days where we're doing this. I don't know. It might stick around. Probably will.
Probably. I was thinking about ordering something today or going out and getting it, but I just my thing is I just get too lazy. I know for some people they're like, I'm feeling kind of lazy today. I'm going to go get coffee. For me, it's I'm going to make it, which I don't understand. But
that's really true. I got this delivered, which is silly and expensive, but I did do that.
Oh, good. Treat yourself.
But no, going out and getting it is hard. The line at the drive-thru, it takes sometimes it's a half-hour ordeal, which is
that's the thing I can't get over.
Yeah.
Mine is, I have a fun mug today. I got this at a local little fair kind of thing. Very small town summer vibes was this little shop there. And I think it's so cute. And I also have a cold brew, but I'm doing caramel. I usually do coconut in the summer, so surprised I didn't do that. Yeah, so love having our little beveraginos.
Okay, so you just got engaged. The first thing that we recommend kind of thinking about is who you're going to share the news with right away. So when a really big life event happens, there's certain people that are close to you that you're probably going to want to tell before others. This is probably going to be parents, siblings, really close friends. Your parents might already know that you got engaged too, and they might be waiting around, to hear it from you, hear how it went, know what you said to the question. You'll definitely want to decide who you want to tell, and certain people are going to want to hear it from you, and not other places.
Right, exactly. You don't want to find out about your siblings' engagement through social media, or your parents would probably love to hear it from you personally. However you decide to tell people, that's totally up to you, but just having an idea of who you want to tell and how is really, really great. Just it makes it easier for you and to make sure that everyone feels like they got to be included on that.
And these people probably will come to mind right away. Maybe it's mom, dad, grandma, and best friend. Maybe it's a short list. It doesn't have to be anything crazy.
For sure.
And like if you don't want to tell anyone like super right away and you want to keep it between you and your partner for a little bit, then that's
Yeah.
okay too. But just like keep in mind what you want to do, who you want to tell. Did you tell anyone like right away about your
Yeah.
engagement?
Yeah. Kind of the breakdown for me was that my parents already knew, and my closest friends already knew because they were waiting for us afterwards. So that
Which
made
is
it a
so
little bit
special.
easier. Yeah. Like just to tell everyone and then also be able to immediately celebrate. But I kind of had this list, like you're saying, like I already kind of had it in the back of my head where I had a list of people who I was going to FaceTime. And then I had a list of people who I was going to send like a special picture to that like in specific, like specifically for me, I was like, I'm gonna send them this picture because I'm not gonna post it, so they'll feel like they got an insider look, because there were a lot of people who couldn't be there who I wanted to feel like got to be a part of that. So yeah, just having that list made it super simple, and then I was able to just send it off, tell everybody, enjoy it, and then post about it on social media later. The next thing that you're really going to want to do right after getting engaged is setting up engagement ring insurance and getting your ring sized. So, I want to talk a little bit about the insurance end of things because I hadn't thought about it a lot when I got engaged. I didn't love thinking about insurance, period. That's not like a super fun thing, but it is very necessary because your engagement ring is very special. So, there can be a lot of factors that go into this. It can feel maybe overwhelming, but this is a very special thing for you. So there are lots of options for ring insurance, and it covers things like damages, theft, and even loss. Our rule of thumb is that if you would feel upset if something happened to your ring, then it's valuable enough to insure. So some of the
Yeah.
things that can kind of go into that process of figuring out how much you need to pay or what insurance would look like is the cost of your ring. Sometimes the area you live in can affect it. There's also different ways to obtain ring insurance. You can do that through a like jewelry specific insurance, or sometimes you can wrap that into other insurance policies. Also, your fiance may have already like obtain that once they got their ring, because you can get insurance right after that purchase or with that purchase. So you may already be totally set up, which would be great. If not, you can absolutely do it at this point, and we would highly recommend.
Yeah, there's so many horror stories out there too of people like losing their ring and like are getting stolen or just like something happening to it, like a stone falling out,
Ugh.
which is so sad. Obviously, rings are like expensive, and but even more than that, like the sentimental value that it has is just really like heartbreaking when something happens to it.
Yeah.
So getting it insured is definitely a good idea. And then aside from that, kind of along the same line is getting it sized properly. So if it is too big, the likelihood of it falling off and you losing it is greater. And then you don't want it to be too small. It'll be so uncomfortable. And like truthfully, it just like won't look quite right on your finger. So we definitely recommend getting it sized right away. My grandma like actually has like a funny story. When she first got engaged, her and my grandpa were on a boat. Not sure what they were doing on the boat. Like I don't know where they were going or whatever, but she had just gotten engaged. She was wearing her engagement ring and it was a little bit too big, and she did like a point like out over the water. And her ring flew off into the ocean and it was just gone. Obviously, I doubt that they even like had ring insurance back then or
Okay.
anything. But so like, I don't know. But obviously, her ring wasn't
Tragic.
sized properly. So yeah, it could happen to you. And then I know that it's hard to like, you just got engaged. You want to wear your ring all the time. You want to show it off. It's like, it's new, exciting, shiny. So like parting with it for it to get like resized kind of sucks. Like you don't want to let
Yeah.
it go, I'm sure. But what I know some people do is like get just like a little placeholder. You could just get like a cute ring at like a boutique or like even on Amazon, like whatever. Like you can just pop one on, and you could have fun with that too. And then when you do go to get it resized, we would recommend taking it back to the jeweler that you got it from, because especially if it has like intricacies like stones, diamonds on the band,
Yeah.
you'll want to make sure that like the person who made the ring will know the
Yeah.
best way to resize that ring. So
Yeah. One of my friends is going through that right now, exactly the same circumstance of like she has smaller diamonds on her band. 2 of them came out. She took it back. They're doing it for free, but she did have to give up her ring for a little while, and she was like, I'm sad about it.
Yeah, it's like so probably fun to wear like as soon as you get it. So,
Yeah.
yeah, but yeah, you can't. I mean, better than losing it is parting with it for
True.
a week or two.
Absolutely.
Not sure how long it like takes, but
Yeah.
so another thing that we recommend doing, but is a totally optional step, is planning an engagement party. So totally optional for sure. You definitely don't have to do this, but I think like Caroline and I are always looking for an excuse to like plan a little party and
Yes.
have fun. And like you should celebrate it. This is a really exciting time in your life, and plus your family and your friends are going to want to celebrate with you too.
Yeah. I feel like this is such a fun thing. Yeah, it is optional, but we highly recommend. And there's a lot of different options that you can take with this. It can be big, it can be small. You can plan it, you and your partner, your parents, your friends. I don't know. It's a fun thing to celebrate. And I had a short engagement, and I wish we would have done something a little bit more like a formalized engagement party. We did kind of have people over after we got engaged, so we kind of had a pseudo one, but it's definitely something that I think is just so fun. Like you're celebrating this big step, and then you're going to celebrate this even bigger step that you're going to take soon.
And it's not even necessarily that something that has to be like a huge expense or something that a lot of planning goes into. You could even have people over for like a barbecue and hang out in your backyard.
Yeah, that actually sounds so
like,
fun.
Yeah, like go get pizza or something all together. It can be something on the smaller scale. But yeah, like celebrating this moment and like really soaking it up, I think is important.
Yeah. And I think it's especially important to do that before you start thinking about your wedding planning. Like really soak up that feeling, that excitement, that fun of your engagement before you start into this next step, which is to start thinking about planning your wedding, because you'll need to secure a venue, think about your style. Those are things that you may have thought about a lot or maybe not at all, but you do really want to start thinking about it at this point. Because that was something for me that I knew pretty soon after we got engaged, like even before we got engaged, since I was a little girl, like I knew a lot of the things that I had wanted. And I think that's the case for some people, and other people probably after you get engaged, then you start thinking about it. Now that's this real thing. So I kind of fell into more of the like, I have an idea, I know what I want. Now I just need to execute these details. But what would you say for you? Like, how would you fall in between those?
Yeah, I think like for me, at this stage of my life, like I'm really attracted to like weddings that I see that are really like intimate. Like I love the idea of like an elopement, like somewhere like where there's nature around, maybe somewhere that's like a secluded setting. Yeah, like that's what I'm really drawn to. So like maybe like somewhere that has neutral color palettes or like a lot of greenery, like I'm really attracted to. But I think that also just reflects back to my personal style. So when you are starting to think about this, just really considering like what your personal style is and what you're attracted to and like what you gravitate towards is the way to do it. And once you do start thinking about this, it will really narrow things down for you. And you know, like obviously if I'm attracted to stuff with like an intimate feel, neutral color palettes, something, you know, just maybe like, yeah, like a secluded setting, I'm probably not going to want to get married somewhere that's like a glitzy, like downtown city, like hotel.
Right.
Beautiful. I'd love to attend one of those weddings, but it doesn't really reflect my personal style. So yeah, thinking about that, we actually did an entire episode about how to choose your wedding venue too. So if you haven't listened to that, you can totally check that out. Yeah, we'd recommend listeing if you haven't already to that
for
one.
sure. Yeah. And we also list thousands of wedding venues on Here Comes the Guide. That's where Chelsea and I work. So you can find so many things there. You could even narrow down your search by your state, by your area or region, but also by your style. Like you could look at specifically woodsy venues, or you could look at city venues. You could look at things on the lake. There's a lot of different ways that you can search for that, and who knows, maybe you'll find your dream venue.
So the next step that we recommend, and like this is like really near and dear to our hearts, is to get organized. So everyone like that works at Here Comes the Guide is like seems like a really type A, organized personality type. Organization, I think, is one of Here Comes the Guide's love languages, truthfully. So we're passionate about that. And there's like a ton that goes into wedding planning. We've said this like 100 times. But there's lots of steps, but there's also lots of ways that you can organize the planning process for yourself. So our biggest recommendation is to pick a way that works for you and your partner and then just stick to it. So like there's lots of ways you could do that. You could like have a special notebook. You can keep everything in Google Docs. There's lots of different ways you can do it, but as long as you like pick a system and stick with that system, everything will be consistent throughout the whole process. And then it'll make it a lot easier for you.
Oh yeah. Again, shameless plug. We have free wedding printables that you can use as part of this organization process. So you're able to use any of those resources, pick and choose the ones that work best for you. They're free. So that's a huge plus. We have ones for budgeting. We have ones for picking the perfect venue, just like overall organization things. So would highly recommend those. I might be biased, but I think they're pretty great. Also, you can access those, yes, on Here Comes the Guide, but we also will have them linked on our website, theguidegalspodcast.com.
Yeah, we have some resources that we've built out ourselves. And then, of course, we link back to a huge library on herecometheguide.com where you can find so much stuff that they really are awesome and free, which is the best part of it. But there's actually like everything in there where you're able to print out a bunch of stuff where you can make a complete wedding planning binder. So if that sounds like a way that would be an effective organization route for you, definitely take advantage of it. But it's an awesome way to keep everything in one place.
For sure.
And yeah, stay consistent once again.
And really, like, this leads really nicely into the next thing, which is to have a money talk, because once you get organized, you'll have a better idea of budget. You'll have a better idea of how you want to spend your money, which is really important because weddings are expensive and there's a lot of decisions to be made no matter what your total budget is. Like there's a lot that goes into it, and you will want to be clear with your partner and with yourself, like how you want to spend your money and what you want to be doing. Be really, really honest in this conversation because I think this will set you up for the most success in the planning process, and it will just make it easier, less stressful overall.
Yeah, for sure. So making these decisions, just like Caroline said, as a team in this process and having this conversation is super important. You both will likely have expectations about how much you can and should spend on your wedding. And yeah, having like healthy conversations about your finances, about your spending, budgeting, all of that stuff is really huge and a perfect way to set yourselves up for healthy conversations for your entire marriage on this. So start off on the right foot, be honest with each other once again, and set your expectations out, figure out those non-negotiables. And we have done an episode on this deep dive. Our first episode that we put out is all about budgeting your wedding. And it was our first episode for a reason. Making sure that your finances and your budgeting are clear for this is very important. So yeah, check that out. And remember, like, you guys are a team when it comes to this. I know money just is a sticky like subject to talk about, but have the talk early on, and set your expectations and ability out on the line.
Absolutely.
So our next thing that we're going to dive into, I think, is my favorite, probably Caroline's favorite too. And that's going to be gathering inspiration for your wedding. So you just got engaged. You're probably super excited. Although we have been like drilling in, like, soak up the moment, be engaged, enjoy that, celebrate it. But you're probably also excited to start looking at like figuring out what you want your wedding to look like. Maybe you already know exactly what you want it to look like and you're just excited to start like putting those things into place. But either way, you're going to want to start gathering inspiration, and there's tons of places you can do that. It can be as simple as like the next time you're at the grocery store, picking up one of those wedding magazines that they have. There's a lot of those, which are super fun. I love like having something to actually look through. But Pinterest is like my favorite place on the internet. And like Pinterest and weddings are like peanut butter and jelly. Like they go together
So well.
nicely.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so there's tons of stuff there. Start pinning, create a board, even like cut out stuff from the magazines if you get them, and like make a physical mood board. You
Yes.
can really start figuring out what you want and getting clear on like all of the little details.
Yes, yeah. And you guys are going to be like, Caroline, shut up. There's a lot of inspiration you can find on Here Comes the Guide. So we list things like real weddings. We have tons of venues. We have lots of editorial or articles about a lot of these different topics. One of the things that I think is really helpful is the real weddings, because you can get an idea for lots of different things through seeing a whole gallery. One of the things that I love the most too about Here Comes the Guide is that if you love the way that venue looks and you could imagine yourself getting married there, great. It's one click away from their profile where you can get full information about capacity, about different rental fees. So you can use that really tangible information to immediately start moving on other things for your wedding planning process. So makes it super simple. Like Chelsea said, Pinterest is one of our favorite places ever. You can also follow Here Comes the Guide on Pinterest, because we try and make sure that we have that mix of inspirational content, but also things that are really, truly useful.
And we could probably talk about this for a long time. So
Yes.
if you would like for us to take a deeper dive on like gathering wedding inspiration, finding out what your like personal wedding style might be, something like that, let us know. We'd love to create a full episode going into that deeper. It'd be so much fun to talk about.
Yes.
If that at all piques your interest, please
Let us know.
If one person likes this post, we will
we will
be
do
making
it.
an episode. Like,
For sure.
yeah.
And I think it's really important to mention too, and where we're going to leave you off with this last thing to do after you get engaged, is to just enjoy your engagement. It's a big thing. It is something to celebrate. It's fun. It's exciting. It is that, I've said this before, like it's a big step before another big step. So really being able to be a part of that moment and just enjoy it is important, because like I said before too, like I had a short engagement and I wish I could have enjoyed it a little bit more. I think I had to immediately switch from great, we're engaged, into planning, because we had a short time period. But it really is something that is worth being celebrated, and you should definitely take that time to just soak it in.
Yeah, I know like in life in general, it's like I do this a lot. It's just really easy to get caught up in like the next thing, and like figuring it out, and like not fully being present. So this is really special. We've said it 100 times probably in this episode, but yeah, taking the time to like soak it up, enjoy it, and be present in your engagement. Just like be fiancés together for a while. You'll probably only be engaged once, hopefully. I think that's most people's like goal.
Yeah.
So yeah, like live in the moment and enjoy it.
Yeah. I have to guess that a lot of you who are listening to us probably fall into similar categories to Chelsea and I, of probably being pretty type A or very organized. And I think that is like the type of person who can sometimes start thinking about the next thing. So take it from us, who we've experienced this in our lives. It's okay to slow down and just enjoy it.
Yeah, it's definitely okay. Yeah, it's hard when you have that personality type, like overly ambitious, a major planner, like just always thinking a couple steps ahead. It's difficult, but yeah, we'd recommend attempting to
the best of your ability. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like every topic I feel like we talk about, this is so fun for us. We love being able to chat with you guys about this process, because if you're listening to this too, like you're probably engaged. So this is something you'll be thinking about and working through. And we hope that this has been helpful in some way to all of you.
Yeah, we love weddings, so we love engagements. So yeah, this was a fun one to do. Congrats on your engagement.
Yes.
And yeah, if you want to reference anything specific from this episode, we will have show notes available on our website, theguidegalspodcast.com. And we also want to open it up to like if you have any episode suggestions, if you have questions, or if you just want to like chat with us, drop us a line. Also on theguidegalspodcast.com, you can do that there. You can also come hang out with us on Instagram, where we'll post a lot of behind the scenes stuff, more to do with every episode. And, you know, you'll get to see what's coming up. We share fun polls. Fun stuff there.
Lots of fun stuff.
That's like, yeah, lots of things on the Instagram. So that's at the Guy Gals Podcast on Instagram.
Yeah, there's lots of ways to connect with us. Please, please, please do. But also, I do want to mention for anyone who might be listening to this episode, you can also find us on YouTube. We do have a video portion to this. So maybe you're watching this, and if so, hey. But if you are listening, just know that you can also see our faces over on YouTube. That is at Here Comes the Guide. We combine it all there so you can have all that information at your fingertips on YouTube. But just wanted to mention that you can find us there. Well, that's wrapping it up for us today. Cheers to our cold brews that are probably not as cold anymore.
Our room temperature brews.
Yeah. Cheers.
All right. Cheers.
This is a ridiculous thing to drink from, though. Like, I feel like I have to use two hands.
It's like goofy. I like it.